Hello viewers, Harrison101 with a brand new video for you, and it's time for episode 6 of my Forza 4 car review series. On this episode, the most requested car ever for a Forza Motorsport 4 car review, and the biggest rival of the McLaren MP4 we reviewed in the last episode. It's time for episode 6, the Ferrari 458 Italia. I actually love the looks on the Ferrari 458 Italia. The thing with Ferrari is that while they have the best designing team in motorsport and in, the car industry in general and Pininfarina, many of their previous cars didn't look that great. The 360, the 430 as well didn't look very good. The 612 was ugly, but this is gorgeous. The lines are great. It's the perfect blend of aerodynamics, which, as you know, Ferrari will always have that element there, and and beautiful style. It looks amazing. The Ferrari 458 is very similar in performance to its rival, the McLaren MP4 12C. It has a 4.5 litre naturally aspirated V8 engine which produces 562 brake horsepower and just under 400 pounds-of-foot torque. It has a Forza Performance Index rating of 645, more on that later. The car is also capable of going from 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds, 0 to 100 in just under 8 seconds, and onwards to a top speed of 199 miles an hour. However, it is the slowest car we've actually tested in a standing mile, completing it in 29.8 seconds. However, I must admit, it did sound lovely getting there. So how does the Ferrari 458 Italia handle? To be honest, it's magnificent. Ignore the fact I come off the wall early on in the handling video here. That was purely a driver error on my part. I was a bit slow getting up in the morning. But what I will say is that this car is superb handling. It's a fun fact for you is that I've driven this car more in career mode in Forza than any other car. I've racked up nearly 600 miles in my 458 Italia, and I love it. It's an amazing car. Its handling is so smooth, so precise, so easy to get used to. Solid. You can let it be loose a little bit if you want it to. It's actually got one of the better handling cars in its category at 6.1, but in general, it just handles so nicely, and I absolutely adore driving this thing. It's my favourite car in the game by a country mile. I'd recommend this car handling wise to anyone, and with its performance index rating how it is, there's definitely room for improvement, even more so in the category. So if my advice, if you have a Ferrari 458, max out that handling because you will adore it around the track. I promise you, it was born to be on this track. After the video, you'll see what my Stig Kenshin thought of the 458 Italia around the hot lap. Off to the Top Gear test track for the Ferrari 458's hot lap. In case you're wondering what Kenshin thought of the car, he had this to say. He said it was very similar to the MP4 12C, and many of the same pros and cons from the MP4 12C also apply for the Ferrari 458. Very good acceleration and straight line performance, as well as very nice cornering grip. However, the plus side here is that he also said the Ferrari 458 had better brakes and he could afford to brake later for the corners. However, because the car has got 30 less brake horsepower than the MP4 and weighs about just under 100 kilos more than the McLaren MP4, the lap times around the track was almost identical, with the Ferrari 458 crossing the line in 1 minute 15.9, exactly the same time as the McLaren MP4. So how does the Ferrari 458 come into terms in the world of Forza? Very well, as a matter of fact. In fact, almost exactly the same as the McLaren MP4, yet again. It is also a reward car at level 34, just like the MP4 is, but it is slightly more expensive at 240,000 credits to buy in the game, but the thing you've got to consider as well is the performance index is 645, less than the McLaren's, so you've got more potential room for upgrades and accessories. So you could easily make this car a more usable and better car in terms of S-Class races and performance. So I'd argue the Ferrari 458 is a better car in the realms of Forza to use than the McLaren MP4. So the question I bet you're all asking me, is the Ferrari 458 a better car than the McLaren MP4? The answer? Yes. In fact, I'd go as far as to say the Ferrari 458 Italia is one of the best pound-for-pound cars in all of Forza Motorsport 4. Looks fantastic, performance is a little lacking, but as a pure car to use around the track and with room for potential, it's untapped, it's raw, and it's brilliant. It's the best car I've reviewed so far. Check back soon for another Forza Motorsport 4 review. I've been Harrison101. Thank you very much for watching, and sayonara.